Hi everyone, our subject today is heart murmurs in pediatrics. Most normal children, 50% to 90%, have an audible heart murmur at some point prior to school age. The challenge to the practitioner is to ascertain which of these murmurs warrants additional evaluation. The clinical diagnosis of a normal or innocent murmur should be made only in the presence of a normal history and physical examination and characteristic consistent with a normal murmur. Despite the easy availability of echocardiography, the history and physical examination remain the accepted means of diagnosis normal murmur. When the diagnosis of a murmur is unclear, it is generally more cost-effective to refer to a pediatric cardiologist than to order an echocardiogram. The additional of preductal and postductal pulse oximetry performed in a newborn nursery is recognized as a fairly sensitive means of early identification of critical congenital heart disease. If not recognized in the newborn nursery, serious cardiac disorder may present with the heart murmur and congestive heart failure, the symptoms of which vary with the age. In young infant with congestive heart failure, the feeding history may reveal limited intake, prolonged feeding time, but brief intervals between feeds because the infant is still hungry. Diaphoresis, tachypnea or dyspnea, and possible cyanosis with feeds. In older children, exercise or exertion can be assessed by inquiring about level of activity and tolerance to extended periods of play or activity, biking, gym class, walking, climbing stairs. Inquiring about how well older children keep up with their peers or siblings regarding exercise tolerance may also be helpful. A history of fevers, lethargy, and recent dental work suggests possible endocarditis. Chronic mouth breathing, snoring, or obstructive sleep apnea may be clues to pulmonary hypertension. A maternal history of gestational diabetes, infection, and use of certain drugs or medication may be a risk factor for congenital heart disease. A family history of sudden death, rheumatic fever, sudden infant death syndrome, and structural cardiac defect in the first degree relative may be significant. A family history of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is sufficient to mandate an echocardiogram because of autosomal dominant pattern of inheritance. Physical examination. Prior to auscultation, palpation of the chest should be performed. Finding of the left-sided pericardial bulge suggesting cardiac enlargement, palpable pericardial thrill, or substernal heave indicating right ventricular hypertension may indicate pathological murmur. Location of highest intensity can help determine etiology of murmur: upper right sternal border, aortic stenosis, ventricular hypertrophy; upper left sternal border, pulmonary stenosis, pulmonary flow murmur, atrial septal defect, patent ductus arteriosus; lower left sternal border, stillus murmur, VSD, tricuspid valve regurgitation, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, subaortic stenosis; apex mitral valve prolapse. Positional change of patient also help in differentiating between innocent murmur and pathological murmur. Stillus murmur will decrease in intensity with the standing. Significant changes in pathological murmur do not occur with patient standing. Exception: pathological murmur of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy does increase in intensity with the standing. Pathologic murmur murmurs are louder and longer than innocent ejection murmur. Systolic murmurs, hollow systolic murmur, shunting of blood between two structures in which the pressure in one structure is higher than the other throughout the systole. Harsh VSD, soft atrioventricular valve regurgitation. Ejection systolic murmur, elevated blood flow turbulence as systole progress due to elevated blood flow through restricted orifice, aortic stenosis, pulmonic stenosis, VSD. Mid-systolic murmur, increase blood volume through normal valves like ASD and anemia. Diastolic murmurs are frequently of low intensity and may be either high or low pitched. Early diastolic murmur, regurgitant blood flow from the aorta or pulmonary artery into the ventricle, aortic insufficiency, pulmonary insufficiency. Late diastolic murmur, aortic regurgitation, blood flow causes vibration of the left ventricular free wall. Tricuspid diastolic murmurs, hair based over the xiphoid process or right of the sternum in the fourth intercostal space. Tricuspid diastolic murmur related to ASD. Mitral diastolic murmur, audible from the left fourth intercostal space to the apex. These murmurs are associated with the VSD. Pulmonary valve regurgitation can occur after tetralogy of Fallot repair. This murmur is low-pitched rumbling and decrescendo sound after S2. Aortic valve regurgitation is a decrescendo, low-intensity, high-pitched murmur. When assessing the child with a murmur, a complete physical examination is essential. A growth parameter, peripheral edema, and hepatomegaly can be sign of congestive heart failure or chronic disease. The cardiac examination should include assessment of pulses, palpation of the pericardium, auscultation, and blood pressure in both arms, involvement of a subclavian artery, most commonly the left, in coarctation would cause a lower blood pressure in the ipsilateral arm and leg. Lower extremity blood pressure is usually 10 to 20 millimeter mercury higher than upper extremity pressure. Diminished femoral pulses or delay between the radial and femoral pulse suggest coarctation of the aorta. The simple presence of a femoral pulse does not rule out coarctation. How to approach to child with the heart murmur? Heart murmur beyond the neonatal period. After performing history and physical examination, is there sign or symptom suggestive of non-cardiac abnormality, anemia, hyperthyroidism? If it is yes, consider CBC, free T4, TSH with or without imaging. If it is abnormal result, then differential diagnosis, anemia, hyperthyroidism, arteriovenous malformation. If it is a normal result or there is no sign of symptom suggestive of anemia or hyperthyroidism, is there sign or symptom suggestive of pathological murmur, exercise intolerance, syncope with exertion, cyanosis, S1 and S2 abnormal or obscured, loud or harsh non-vibratory murmur, diastolic, continuous, pansystolic or late systolic murmur, ejection click, abnormal pulses, other sign and symptom of congestive heart failure. If it is present, refer for cardiology. Is there a clinical picture suggestive of rheumatic fever? Major criteria: carditis, erythema marginatum, subcutaneous nodule, chorea, arthritis. Minor criteria: fever, arthralgia, leukocytosis, elevated ESR or C-reactive protein, prolonged PR interval. If it is yes, then it is rheumatic heart disease. If there is no sign of symptom suggestive of pathological murmur. Is there sign or symptom suggestive of an innocent murmur, non-pathologic, normal S2, early systole, quiet pericardium, short duration, low intensity, increased intensity with fever and anxiety, decreased intensity with Valsalva maneuver, no family history of sudden death or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, no associated symptom? If it is yes, then differential diagnosis: pulmonary flow murmur, common innocent murmur, stillus murmur, peripheral pulmonic stenosis, venous hum, mammary shuffles in pregnant or lactating women, supraclavicular systolic murmur. If it is not innocent or not rheumatic, then differential diagnosis may include VSD, ASD, coarctation of aorta, PDA, arteriovenous malformation, pulmonary thromboembolism, bacterial endocarditis, acquired lesion like tricuspid insufficiency, mitral insufficiency, mitral valve prolapse, or cardiomyopathy. Now, how to approach heart murmur in the neonate? After performing history and physical examination, sign or symptom suggestive of congenital heart disease, harsh or diastolic murmur, congestive heart failure, cyanosis or hypoxia, congenital anomaly or syndrome, dysmorphic feature, abnormal pulses, bounding, diminished, absent, failure to thrive, sudden deterioration. If it is yes, consult cardiology. Is there cyanosis? If it is present, then differential diagnosis include hypoplastic left heart, transposition of the great vessel, tetralogy of Fallot, total anomalous pulmonary venous return, pulmonary atresia, tricuspid atresia, Ebstein anomaly. If there is no cyanosis, differential diagnosis: patent ductus arteriosus, VSD, ASD, coarctation of aorta, pulmonary stenosis, aortic stenosis, and arteriovenous malformation. If there is no sign or symptom suggestive of congenital heart disease, is there murmur consistent with peripheral pulmonic stenosis or pulmonary flow murmur, grade 1 or 2, systolic ejection murmur, heard best at left upper sternal border, radiation to both axilla and back, low to medium pitch, intensity varies with the heart rate, normal femoral pulse? If it is yes, differential diagnosis: peripheral pulmonic stenosis, transient, pulmonary flow murmur of newborn. If it is not, then consult cardiology. Follow-up recommendation: parents should be instructed to look for worsening sign and symptom of patient underlying condition causing the heart murmur. Most heart murmurs are innocent. Therefore, there should be no restriction on activity or diet. Discharge medication should be based on the recommendation of the consulting pediatric cardiologist. Follow-up appointment with a pediatric cardiologist should be made. Thank you for your listening.